CEO asked, "You seem to be good in bed. Are you married?" Single dad replied, "No, I'm still waiting." My CEO asked me, "You seem to be good in bed. Are you married?" And the second those words came out of her mouth, I knew my life was about to change, either for better or worse. I wasn't sure yet. Her name was Cecilia Haug. She was a woman who built this company from scratch and now stood in front of me wearing a red shirt that made it impossible to look away. Blonde hair, sharp eyes that could see right through me, and the kind of confidence I'd lost years ago. I'm Gerald Cochran. I'm a widower. My wife died 3 years ago, and I've been walking around like a dead man ever since. Just going to work, picking up my daughter from school, eating dinner, going to bed. Repeat. I was married to a memory I couldn't let go of. Cecilia and I had worked in the same building for 6 months. We'd look at each other in meetings, pass each other in the hallway. Her office was on the top floor. Mine was 3 floors below. We lived in different worlds. She was successful and powerful. I was broken and grieving. Then one afternoon she called me into her office and asked me that question. I told her, no, I'm still waiting. She didn't ask me what I was waiting for. Maybe she already knew. Maybe she understood because she was waiting for something too. But saying those words out loud changed something in me. Because waiting meant I still had hope. And hope was something I hadn't felt in a very long time. Before we continue, please tell us where in the world you are tuning in from. We love seeing how far our stories travel. The meeting was supposed to be about the quarterly reports. That's what Cecilia's assistant told me when she called my desk. She said Ms. Haug needed to review the architectural projections for new development. I grabbed my folder and went upstairs. I'd been working for Haug International for almost 2 years. Good company, good pay, good enough to give Angelina a stable life after everything we'd been through. Cecilia's office took up half the top floor. Glass walls, city view, the kind of space that reminded you exactly who was in charge. She was standing by the window when I walked in. The afternoon sun was coming through the glass, and it made her hair look almost gold. She turned around and smiled. Not the professional smile she used in meetings. Something else. Something that made me nervous. We talked about the reports for maybe 10 minutes. She asked good questions. She always did. That's why the company was successful. She didn't just sign papers. She understood every detail. But I could tell she wasn't really focused on the numbers. She kept looking at me like she was trying to figure something out. Finally, she put the folder down and asked if I wanted coffee. I said sure. She made it herself. Didn't call her assistant. Just walked over to the machine in the corner and made 2 cups. Black for both of us. She handed me one and sat on the edge of her desk instead of behind it. More casual, more personal. That's when I knew this wasn't really about work. She asked me how Angelina was doing. I was surprised she remembered my daughter's name. I'd mentioned her maybe once or twice in passing. I told her Angelina was good. 7 years old now. Smart kid. Doing well in school. Cecilia smiled and said that was nice. Then she asked if it was hard being a single parent. I told her the truth. It was the hardest thing I'd ever done. Harder than losing my wife. Because at least grief was something I understood. Raising a daughter alone while pretending to be okay was something else entirely. Cecilia nodded like she understood. She told me she'd been married once. Didn't work out. No kids. She said sometimes she wondered if that was a mistake. Not having children. I told her it wasn't too late. She laughed and said maybe. Then she looked at me with those sharp eyes and asked the question that changed everything. You seem to be good in bed. Are you married? I almost dropped my coffee. Nobody had ever asked me something like that. Especially not my CEO. Especially not in the middle of the afternoon in her office. I didn't know what to say. My brain just stopped working. She didn't look embarrassed. She just waited for an answer like she'd asked me about the weather. I finally managed to say no. I wasn't married. She asked if I was seeing anyone. I said no to that too. Then she asked why not. Why would a man like me be alone? And that's when I told her. I said I was still waiting. She tilted her head and asked what I was waiting for. I didn't have a good answer. I just said I'd know it when I found it. She looked at me for a long time. Then she said something I wasn't expecting. She said she'd been waiting too. Waiting for someone who wasn't afraid of her. Someone who saw her as more than just a CEO. Someone real. I understood what she meant. We were both stuck. Both waiting for permission to move on. Permission that nobody was going to give us. That conversation should have been the end of it. Should have been awkward. Should have made working together impossible. But it didn't. Instead, it felt like something opened up between us. Like we'd both admitted we were tired of being alone. And that admission made us less alone somehow. The next week things changed. Not dramatically. Just small things. Cecilia started stopping by my office instead of calling. She'd bring coffee and we'd talk about projects. Sometimes about Angelina. Sometimes about nothing important. I started looking forward to those visits. Started wondering when she'd show up. It felt good. It felt dangerous. It felt like I was betraying my wife's memory just by enjoying another woman's company. But then Monica showed up and everything got complicated. Monica was my late wife's younger sister. She was 28 now. Pretty in a girl next door kind of way. Brown hair. Soft voice. Always helpful. Always around. She'd been close to her sister. Closer than most siblings. When my wife died, Monica took it hard. Almost as hard as I did. She started coming around more after the funeral. Helping with Angelina. Bringing groceries. Doing laundry. I appreciated it at first. I needed the help. But lately Monica had been coming around even more. She had a key to my house. She'd let herself in and have dinner ready when I got home from work. She'd pick up Angelina from school without asking. She'd stay late watching TV on my couch like she lived there. I kept telling myself it was fine. She was family. She missed her sister. This was her way of staying connected. The day after Cecilia asked me that question in her office, Monica showed up at my house with Chinese food. She said she thought I'd be too tired to cook. She was right. I was exhausted. We ate together. Angelina told Monica about her day at school. Monica listened like it was the most interesting thing in the world. After dinner, Monica gave Angelina a bath and put her to bed. She came back downstairs and sat next to me on the couch, closer than usual. She asked if I was okay. Said I seemed distracted lately. I told her work was busy. She asked if it was just work or if there was something else. I didn't know what to say. I couldn't tell her about Cecilia. Couldn't tell her I was starting to feel something for someone who wasn't her sister. So I just said I was fine. Monica didn't look convinced. She put her hand on my arm and said I didn't have to pretend with her. She said she knew how hard it was. Losing someone you love. Being alone. She said we understood each other in a way nobody else could. I told her I appreciated everything she did for me and Angelina. She smiled and said she'd do anything for us. Anything at all. Then she leaned in like she was going to kiss me. I pulled back, stood up, made some excuse about being tired. She looked hurt, but she didn't say anything. She just grabbed her purse and left. I stood there feeling like I just dodged something I didn't fully understand. The next day at work, Cecilia called me into her office again. This time she looked worried. She said she needed to tell me something. There was a man named Victor Sterling, her ex-husband. He was trying to take over the company. A hostile takeover. He'd been buying up shares quietly for months, and now he had enough to challenge her control. She said the board was meeting next week, and there was a real chance she could lose everything. I asked why he was doing this. She said because he was angry. They'd been married for 5 years. He wanted her to give up the company and be a housewife. She'd refused. He'd called her cold and ambitious and selfish. They divorced, and he'd spent the last 3 years trying to prove she didn't deserve what she'd built. Now, he had the power to take it from her. I asked what I could do to help. She said she didn't know. She just needed someone to talk to. Someone who wouldn't judge her or tell her to give up. I told her I wasn't going anywhere. She looked at me like I just said the most important thing in the world. Then she did something unexpected. She hugged me. Not a professional hug. A real one. The kind you give someone when you're scared and you need to know you're not alone. I hugged her back. And for the first time in 3 years, I felt something other than grief. I felt alive. I felt needed. I felt like maybe I wasn't supposed to wait forever. Maybe I was supposed to take a chance. But before I could do anything about it, my phone rang. It was Angelina's school. Monica had picked her up early without telling anyone. The school wanted to confirm it was okay. I said it wasn't. I told them to call me next time before releasing my daughter to anyone. I called Monica immediately. She said she was sorry. She thought it would be nice to take Angelina to the park. She didn't think it was a big deal. I told her it was a big deal. I told her she couldn't just take my daughter without asking. She got defensive, said she was family, said she had every right to spend time with her niece. I told her that wasn't the point. The point was she needed to ask first. She hung up on me. That night, Monica brought Angelina home. She didn't come inside, just dropped her off and drove away. Angelina asked why Aunt Monica was mad. I told her it was grown-up stuff, nothing for her to worry about. But I was worried. Monica was acting strange, possessive, like she thought she had some claim on me and Angelina that I didn't agree to. The next week got worse. Victor's takeover attempt went public. It was in all the business news. Articles about how Cecilia Haug was losing control of her own company, how her ex-husband was proving she wasn't fit to lead. The board scheduled an emergency meeting. Cecilia asked me to attend as part of the development team. She said she wanted people she trusted in the room. The meeting was brutal. Victor showed up with lawyers and accountants. He had evidence of financial decisions he claimed were reckless, investments that hadn't paid off yet, projects that were over budget. He made Cecilia look incompetent. The board members looked uncomfortable. Some of them were clearly considering his offer. He was promising to stabilize the company, to bring in experienced leadership. What he really meant was he wanted to kick Cecilia out and take over himself. I watched Cecilia sit there and take it. She defended herself calmly. She explained every decision. She showed long-term projections that proved her investments would pay off. But Victor had an answer for everything. He'd prepared for this. He wanted to humiliate her, wanted to prove she'd made a mistake by leaving him. It was personal. It was cruel, and I hated him for it. After the meeting, Cecilia looked exhausted. I told her she did great. She said it didn't matter. Victor had the votes. The board was going to side with him. She was going to lose everything. I told her it wasn't over yet. There had to be something we could do. She said there wasn't. She'd already tried everything. I refused to believe that. I told her to give me access to the financial records. All of them. I said I'd find something. Some mistake Victor made. Some proof that he wasn't the hero he was pretending to be. She looked at me like I was crazy, but she gave me the access. I spent the next 3 days going through every document, every transaction, every email. I barely slept. I brought the files home and worked through the night. Monica kept calling asking if I needed help with Angelina. I told her I had it covered. She showed up anyway, let herself in with her key. I was too focused on the work to argue. Monica made dinner, put Angelina to bed, came back downstairs, and sat across from me at the kitchen table. She asked what I was working on. I told her it was a work thing. She said it looked important. I said it was. She reached across the table and put her hand on mine. She said I was always working so hard, always taking care of everyone else, always putting myself last. She said I deserved someone who took care of me for a change. I pulled my hand back, told her I was fine. She looked hurt again. She said she was just trying to help. I told her the best way to help was to give me space. She stood up, said she understood, said she'd leave me alone if that's what I wanted. But before she left, she said something that made my blood run cold. She said people at Angelina's school were talking, saying I was having an affair with my boss, saying I was neglecting my daughter for some woman. She said she'd been defending me, but it was getting harder. She said maybe I should be more careful about the company I keep. I knew what she was doing. She was trying to make me feel guilty, trying to make me pull away from Cecilia. I told her to leave. She did, but the damage was done. I couldn't stop thinking about what she said, about people judging me, about Angelina hearing rumors, about Monica using my daughter against me. That's when I found it, the mistake Victor made. He'd been laundering money to one of the company's overseas subsidiaries, small amounts over several years, payments disguised as consulting fees. I had the architectural plans for those facilities. I knew exactly how much they cost to build and maintain. The numbers Victor was claiming didn't match. Not even close. He'd been stealing from the company for years, and now he was trying to blame Cecilia for the financial problems he created. I called Cecilia immediately, told her what I found. She came to my house at midnight with her lawyer. We went through everything together, built a case, documented every discrepancy. By sunrise, we had enough to destroy Victor's takeover and possibly send him to prison. The board meeting happened 2 days later. Cecilia presented the evidence. Victor tried to deny it, tried to claim the documents were fake. But I'd been thorough. I had bank records, email trails, everything. The board voted unanimously to reject the takeover and report Victor to federal investigators. Cecilia kept her company. Victor lost everything. After the meeting, Cecilia and I went back to her office. She was crying, not sad tears, relief tears. She said she didn't know how to thank me. I told her she didn't have to. She said yes, she did. She said I'd saved her life, saved everything she'd worked for. Then she kissed me, right there in her office. And I kissed her back, because I was done waiting, done pretending I didn't feel something for her, done living like a ghost. The day after Cecilia kissed me, I felt like a different person, like I'd been holding my breath for 3 years and finally remembered how to breathe. I went to work smiling. People noticed. My assistant asked if something good happened. I told her the company was safe. That was true, but it wasn't the real reason. The real reason was sitting on the top floor in a red blouse, probably thinking about me the same way I was thinking about her. Cecilia and I started seeing each other. Nothing official. We were careful. She was still my boss. We didn't want office gossip, but we'd have dinner after work. She'd come to my place after Angelina was asleep. We'd sit on the couch and talk for hours. About everything. About nothing. About what it felt like to finally stop being alone. It was easy, natural, like we'd been doing this forever, instead of just a few weeks. But Monica was watching. I didn't realize how closely until it was too late. She started showing up at random times. Early morning before I left for work. Lunch breaks at the office. Late evening when Angelina was doing homework. She always had an excuse. Needed to borrow something. Wanted to drop off a gift for Angelina. Just happened to be in the neighborhood. But I knew better. She was checking up on me, looking for evidence of Cecilia, trying to catch me in something she could use against me. One Saturday afternoon, Monica took Angelina to the zoo. I'd agreed to it because Angelina loved the zoo, and I had work to catch up on. Monica promised to have her back by dinner. They didn't come home until 9. Angelina was exhausted. Monica said they lost track of time. She helped me put Angelina to bed, then came back downstairs. She didn't leave. She made tea, sat on my couch, started talking about her sister. She said she missed her every day. Said the house felt empty without her. Said she kept expecting to see her walk through the door. I understood. I felt the same way for a long time. But then Monica said something strange. She said sometimes she felt like her sisters sent her here. to take care of me and Angelina, to make sure we were okay, to fill the empty space she left behind. I told her that was a nice thought, but it wasn't necessary. I said I appreciated everything she did, but I was managing fine. Monica looked at me like I'd slapped her. She said I wasn't fine. She said I was lonely and struggling and too proud to admit it. She said Angelina needed a mother figure, someone stable, someone who actually cared about family instead of work. I knew she was talking about Cecilia. I asked her what she meant. She didn't answer directly. She just said she'd been hearing things. People at Angelina's school talking, neighbors whispering, everyone wondering why I was spending so much time with my boss. Everyone questioning if that was appropriate, if that was healthy for Angelina. I told her my personal life was none of their business. Monica said it became their business when it affected my daughter. She said Angelina was asking questions, wondering why Daddy was always working late, wondering why Aunt Monica was around more than Daddy was. I told her that wasn't true. I was home every night. I had dinner with Angelina. I helped with homework. I tucked her in. Monica said that wasn't enough. She said a child needs consistency, stability, a real family. Then she said it, the thing she'd been building up to. She said, maybe it was time to admit I couldn't do this alone. Maybe it was time to let someone help me, really help me. Someone who loved Angelina as much as I did. Someone who knew what her mother would have wanted. Someone like her. I stared at her, finally understanding. Monica wasn't just helping out a grief or family obligation. She wanted to replace her sister. She wanted to step into the role of wife and mother. She thought that's what I needed, what Angelina needed, what her dead sister would have wanted. She convinced herself this was the right thing to do. I told her no, as gently as I could. I said I cared about her. I appreciated everything she'd done, but I didn't see her that way. I never would. She was my sister-in-law. Family. Nothing more. She looked like I'd broken her heart. She asked if this was about Cecilia. If I was choosing some woman I barely knew over family, over Angelina's own aunt. I told her Cecilia had nothing to do with it. Even if Cecilia didn't exist, my answer would be the same. Monica started crying. She said she'd been waiting for years. Ever since high school, she'd loved me before her sister did. She'd watched me fall in love with someone else, and she'd accepted it because her sister was happy. But now her sister was gone. Now she had a second chance. Now I was supposed to see her. Really see her. I didn't know what to say. I'd had no idea. All these years Monica had been carrying this, loving me in secret, waiting for her chance. It explained so much. Why she was always around. Why she tried so hard. Why she couldn't let go. But understanding didn't change anything. I didn't love her. I never would. Monica left that night angry. She said I was making a mistake. She said Angelina deserved better than a father who was too selfish to see what was right in front of him. She said she wasn't giving up. She said she'd prove I needed her, that we needed her. Then she walked out. I thought that was the end of it. I was wrong. The next week things got worse. Monica started telling people at Angelina's school that I was in an inappropriate relationship with my boss. She didn't use Cecilia's name, but everyone figured it out. Parents started looking at me different, whispering when I picked up Angelina. The school counselor called me in for a meeting, asked if everything was okay at home, asked if Angelina was being affected by any changes in my personal life. I told them everything was fine. Angelina was happy and healthy. My personal life was my business. The counselor said they just wanted to make sure, said they received some concerns from family members. I knew it was Monica. She was trying to make me look unstable, trying to prove I was a bad father, trying to force me to need her. Cecilia noticed I was stressed. I told her what was happening. She was furious. She wanted to confront Monica. I told her that would make it worse. Monica was looking for proof that Cecilia was a bad influence. A confrontation would give her exactly what she wanted. Cecilia asked what I was going to do. I said I didn't know. I couldn't cut Monica out completely. She was Angelina's aunt, family, but I couldn't let her destroy my life either. That's when Cecilia made a suggestion. She said maybe we should find out more about Monica, about why she was so obsessed with replacing her sister. She said people don't act like this without a reason. There had to be something in Monica's past that explained it. Some history we didn't know about. Cecilia hired a private investigator. I felt guilty about it, like I was betraying family. But I needed to understand what I was dealing with. The investigator came back with a file 2 weeks later. What we found changed everything. Monica had been in therapy since high school. Depression, anxiety, obsessive tendencies. She'd been hospitalized twice. Once after a suicide attempt. Once after stalking a boy who rejected her. That boy had been me. In high school, before I even knew her sister existed, Monica had convinced herself we were meant to be together. When I started dating her sister, instead Monica had a breakdown. Her parents sent her away for treatment. She came back a year later, seemingly better, but she'd never actually let go. The file had old journals Monica wrote, page after page about me, about how her sister stole me, about how she was waiting for her chance, about how she'd prove she was better, more deserving, more loving. After her sister died, Monica saw it as a sign, a second chance. She'd been planning this for 3 years, waiting for me to grieve long enough, inserting herself into my life, into Angelina's life, setting up the perfect moment to take her sister's place. I felt sick reading it. This wasn't grief. This wasn't family helping family. This was obsession. Monica needed help, professional help, but she also needed to stay away from me and Angelina. I knew confronting her would be dangerous. People with obsessions don't react well to rejection, but I couldn't let this continue. Cecilia suggested we talk to Monica's parents first, show them the evidence, get them to intervene. It was a good idea. Monica's parents were reasonable people. They'd dealt with her issues before. They'd know what to do. We met them at a coffee shop, showed them everything, the investigator's report, the journals, the timeline of Monica's behavior. They looked devastated. They said they thought Monica was better. They thought the therapy had worked. They had no idea she'd been fixating on me all these years. They apologized, said they'd talk to her, get her back into treatment, make sure she stayed away from us. But before they could do anything, Monica showed up at my house. She figured out what we were doing. Her parents must have called her, warned her. She was furious. She pounded on my door at 10 at night. Angelina was already asleep. I opened the door and Monica pushed past me. She was crying, screaming, saying I had betrayed her, saying I had turned her own parents against her, saying I had chosen Cecilia over family. I tried to calm her down, tried to get her to leave before she woke up Angelina. But Monica wouldn't stop. She said she'd loved me for 15 years. She'd waited patiently. She'd been there when I needed her. She'd taken care of Angelina like her own daughter. And this was how I repaid her. By treating her like she was crazy. By sharing her private medical history with strangers. I told her she needed help. Real help. Not from me, from professionals. She said the only thing wrong with her was loving someone who couldn't love her back. She said her sister would be ashamed of me, ashamed that I'd moved on so quickly, ashamed that I'd chosen career over family, ashamed that I was letting some power-hungry CEO raise her daughter. That's when Cecilia walked in. I'd called her when Monica started pounding on the door. Cecilia had rushed over. Monica turned on her immediately, started screaming at her, calling her names, saying she'd ruined everything. Cecilia stayed calm. She told Monica she needed to leave. Monica refused. She said this was family business. Cecilia had no right to be here. Cecilia said she had every right, because she cared about me, because She wasn't going anywhere. Because Monica's obsession was unhealthy and dangerous and needed to stop. Monica lunged at her, actually tried to attack her. I grabbed Monica, held her back. She was screaming and crying and completely out of control. I called 911, told them I needed police, needed someone trained to handle a mental health crisis. The police came. Monica's parents came. An ambulance came. Monica was taken to the hospital for a psychiatric evaluation. Her parents were crying, apologizing, saying they'd make sure she got help, saying they'd keep her away from us. I felt terrible. I didn't want Monica to suffer, but I couldn't let her hurt my family either. Angelina woke up during chaos, saw the police cars, saw her aunt being taken away. She was scared and confused. I held her and told her everything was okay. Aunt Monica was sick, but she was getting help. Angelina asked if it was her fault. I told her no. None of this was her fault. Sometimes grown-ups have problems that kids can't fix. All she needed to do was be a kid. After everyone left, Cecilia stayed. She helped me calm Angelina down, made her hot chocolate, read her a story, put her back to bed. Then she sat with me on the couch and held me while I processed everything that had just happened. I'd known Monica was struggling. I hadn't realized how deep it went, how long she'd been carrying this, how much danger we'd been in. Cecilia said it was over now. Monica would get the help she needed. We could move forward, build something real without looking over our shoulders. I wanted to believe her, but I couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't finished yet. If you're listening right now, help me prove something wrong. My dad said I wouldn't even reach 1,000 subscribers, but I believe stories like this deserve to be heard. Help me show him that these tales matter. Please subscribe to this channel, and let's keep breathing life into stories that were never meant to stay silent. Now let's continue. Monica was hospitalized for 2 weeks. Her parents visited her every day. They kept me updated. Said she was responding to treatment, said the doctors were adjusting her medication, said she was starting to understand that her feelings for me weren't healthy. I wanted to believe it was that simple, that medication and therapy could fix 15 years of obsession. But I knew better. The hospital released Monica with a treatment plan, outpatient therapy 3 times a week, regular medication checks, supervised visits with family only. Her parents promised to make sure she followed through. They apologized again for not seeing the signs earlier, for not protecting me and Angelina. I told them it wasn't their fault. Mental illness is complicated. Nobody blames themselves when someone has cancer. This wasn't different. For a few weeks things were quiet. Monica stayed away. No surprise visits. No phone calls. No showing up at Angelina's school. I started to relax. Started to think maybe we really were done with this chapter. Cecilia and I got more serious. We stopped hiding our relationship. People at work figured it out. Some had opinions. Most didn't care. We were both adults, both single. As long as it didn't affect our work, nobody had grounds to complain. Angelina started warming up to Cecilia. At first she was suspicious, protective of her mom's memory. But Cecilia never tried to replace anyone. She was just herself, kind and funny, and interested in what Angelina had to say. They bonded over cooking. Cecilia taught Angelina how to make pasta from scratch. They'd spend Sunday afternoons in my kitchen, covered in flour, laughing at their mistakes. It was beautiful. It was healing. It was everything I'd been afraid to hope for. Then Monica's mother called. She said they'd found something. A box of letters Monica had written but never sent. Letters to me. Letters to her dead sister. Letters to Angelina. Monica's therapist thought I should read them. Thought it might help me understand what Monica was going through. Help me protect myself and Angelina if Monica ever tried to contact us again. I didn't want to read them. Didn't want to spend more time in Monica's head. But Cecilia thought it was important. She said knowledge was power. The more we understood about Monica's thinking, the better we could guard against it. So I agreed. Monica's parents brought the box to my house. There must have been 50 letters, all dated, all sealed, some from years ago, some from just weeks before her breakdown. Her mother said they'd read them all. Some were heartbreaking, some were disturbing, but there was one letter that wasn't written by Monica. It was written by my wife, to Monica, right before she died. I opened it with shaking hands. My wife's handwriting, her words, a piece of her I thought I'd lost forever. She'd written it from the hospital during her final days, knew she wasn't going to make it, wanted to say goodbye to her sister. But the letter wasn't sentimental. It was a warning. My wife told Monica she knew about her feelings for me, had known since high school, had watched Monica struggle with jealousy and resentment for years. My wife had chosen to marry me anyway, because she loved me, because she knew Monica's feelings weren't really about me. They were about Monica's own insecurities, her need to be chosen, her fear of being second best. My wife begged Monica to let go, told her that obsessing over me was destroying her life, that I would never love her the way she wanted, that Monica needed to find her own happiness instead of trying to steal someone else's. My wife said she was worried about what Monica would do after she was gone, worried Monica would see her death as an opportunity, would try to step into her place, would hurt me and Angelina in the process. The letter ended with a plea. My wife asked Monica to promise to get help, to stay away from me and Angelina, to let us grieve and heal without her interference. She said if Monica really loved her sister, she'd respect this final wish. She said real love meant letting go even when it hurt. I read the letter 3 times, cried through all of them. My wife had known. She'd seen Monica's obsession, and she'd tried to stop it. She'd literally used her dying breath to protect me. And Monica had ignored her, had kept the letter hidden, had done the exact opposite of what her sister asked. But there was something else in the letter, something my wife wrote specifically for me, even though the letter was addressed to Monica. She said if I ever found this letter, it meant Monica hadn't listened. It meant I needed to know the truth, that my wife loved me, that she wanted me to be happy, that she wanted me to find love again. She mentioned Cecilia by name. I was shocked. My wife had met Cecilia exactly once, at a charity event 2 years before she got sick. They'd talked for maybe 20 minutes, but my wife had been impressed. She wrote that Cecilia was the kind of woman with fire, the kind of woman who wouldn't let me disappear into grief. She wrote that if she couldn't be there to pull me back to life, I hoped someone like Cecilia would. It was like getting permission from beyond the grave. Permission I didn't know I needed. Permission to stop feeling guilty. Permission to move forward. Permission to love Cecilia without betraying my wife's memory. Because my wife had wanted this, had seen it coming, had given her blessing before she even died. I showed the letter to Cecilia. She cried too, said she barely remembered meeting my wife, but she remembered thinking she was kind, genuine, someone who really loved the people in her life. Cecilia said it was an honor to be mentioned, to be trusted with my future. She said she'd do everything she could to live up to that trust. I called Monica's parents and asked if I could keep the letter. They said yes. Said Monica's therapist agreed it might be good for Monica to know I had it, to know her sister's wishes were clear, that there was no ambiguity, no room for Monica to rewrite history or convince herself she was honoring her sister by pursuing me. Monica's therapist arranged a supervised meeting. Monica wanted to apologize, wanted closure. Her parents thought it would help her move on. I was skeptical, but I agreed. We met at the therapist's office. Neutral ground, safe space. Monica's parents were there. The therapist was there. Cecilia came with me for support. Monica looked different, calmer, medicated but not zombified. She apologized for everything, for the obsession, for the harassment, for scaring Angelina, for attacking Cecilia. She said she'd been sick for a long time, said therapy was helping her see how distorted her thinking had been, how she built a fantasy in her head that had nothing to do with reality. She said reading her sister's letter had broken something in her, made her realize she'd been dishonoring her sister's memory instead of honoring it, made her see that real love wasn't about possession or control. It was about wanting the other person to be happy, even if that happiness didn't include you. I thanked her for the apology, asked what she needed from me to move forward. She said distance, space to heal without reminders of what she'd lost. She said she'd always love Angelina, but she understood she couldn't be part of our lives right now. Maybe someday when she was healthier, when she could see me as just her brother-in-law and nothing more. But not now. I agreed, told her I wished her well, told her I hoped she found peace. She smiled sadly and said she hoped the same for me. Then she looked at Cecilia and said something unexpected. She said take care of him. He deserves someone who sees how special he is. Cecilia promised she would. That was the last time I saw Monica. Her parents said she moved across the country, started over somewhere nobody knew her history. Last I heard, she was doing well, had a job she liked, was dating someone new. I hoped it was true. Hoped she really had found her own happiness instead of chasing mine. After Monica left, my life got quieter, simpler, better. Cecilia and I stopped sneaking around. We were a real couple. We had date nights. We introduced each other friends. We made plans for the future. It felt right. It felt like the life I was supposed to be living. But we still had one problem. Victor Sterling. He'd been arrested for money laundering, but he'd made bail. His lawyers were good. They were building a defense, claiming the evidence was circumstantial, claiming I'd fabricated documents to help Cecilia. The trial was months away. Until then, Victor was free. And he was angry. He started showing up places. Outside Cecilia's office building, at restaurants where we had reservations. He never approached us directly, just watched, made sure we knew he was there, made sure we knew he wasn't going away quietly. Cecilia tried to get a restraining order. The judge said there wasn't enough evidence of direct threats. Watching someone in public wasn't illegal. We'd have to wait for him to actually do something before the law would intervene. I didn't like it. Didn't like feeling watched. Didn't like knowing Victor was out there plotting something. Cecilia said not to worry. Said Victor was all talk. His lawyers had told him to stay away from us. Any harassment would hurt his case. He was just trying to intimidate us, trying to make us slip up somehow. But I'd spent weeks going through Victor's financial records. I knew how his mind worked. He was methodical, patient. He didn't make moves unless he was sure they'd work. If he was watching us, he had a reason. He was looking for something, some weakness he could exploit. I started paying more attention, noticed patterns. Victor showed up most often when Angelina was with us. At the park, at the ice cream shop, outside her school. He wasn't watching Cecilia and me. He was watching my daughter, and that terrified me. I told Cecilia my concerns. She thought I was being paranoid. Victor was cruel, but he wasn't violent. He wouldn't hurt a child. I wasn't so sure. Desperate people do desperate things. Victor was facing prison time, federal charges. He had nothing to lose. If he thought he could hurt Cecilia by hurting someone she cared about, he'd do it. I hired security, a firm that specialized in executive protection. They did background checks, installed cameras, monitored threats. They agreed Victor's behavior was concerning. They recommended we vary our routines, never go to the same places at the same times, make it harder for Victor to predict our movements. We followed their advice. For a few weeks, Victor disappeared. No sightings, no incidents. Security thought maybe he'd backed off. Maybe his lawyers had finally convinced him to stay away. I wanted to believe it, but something felt wrong. Victor wasn't the type to give up. He was planning something. I just didn't know what. The answer came from an unexpected source. One of Cecilia's board members, a man named Richard, who'd been neutral during the takeover vote. He called Cecilia and asked to meet privately. Said he had information about Victor. Said it was urgent. We met him at his house. He looked nervous. Said Victor had approached him weeks ago. Offered him money. Lots of money. In exchange for information about Cecilia's personal life. Her relationship with me. Details about my daughter. Richard had refused. But Victor had kept pushing. Eventually, Victor showed him photos. Photos of Richard with his mistress. Victor threatened to send them to Richard's wife unless Richard cooperated. Richard said he'd given Victor some harmless information. Where Cecilia liked to eat. What gym she used. Nothing sensitive. But Victor wanted more. Wanted to know about Angelina's schedule. What school she went to. What route we took to drop her off. Richard had refused. Told Victor he wouldn't put a child at risk. Victor had threatened him. Said he'd destroy Richard's marriage and his reputation. Richard had finally gone to his wife and confessed the affair himself. Removed Victor's leverage. Now he was coming to us. I asked Richard what Victor was planning. He said he didn't know exactly. But based on their conversations, Victor was fixated on the idea that Cecilia had stolen his life, his company, his reputation, his future. Victor wanted to return the favor. Wanted to take something from Cecilia that she couldn't get back. He'd realized Cecilia's weakness was me. And my weakness was Angelina. We went to the police immediately. Showed them everything. Richard's testimony. The photos. The threats. They said it still wasn't enough for an arrest. Victor hadn't actually done anything illegal yet. Taking photos in public wasn't a crime. Asking questions about someone's child wasn't a crime. Unless Victor made a direct threat or took direct action, they couldn't help us. I was furious. My daughter was in danger, and the police were saying there was nothing they could do. Cecilia was scared. She said maybe we should back off. Maybe if she stepped down from the company, Victor would leave us alone. I told her absolutely not. We weren't letting him win. We weren't giving him power over our lives. We'd find another way. That's when I had an idea. Victor wanted to hurt Cecilia by going after me and Angelina. But what if we used that against him? What if we made him think he had an opportunity? Drew him out. Got him to make a mistake. We could actually prove. The security firm agreed it was risky, but it could work. They'd set up surveillance. Monitor everything. If Victor took the bait and made a move, they'd be there to stop him and document everything. We'd finally have the evidence we needed to put him away for good. We created a fake routine. Made sure Victor's informants saw us. Cecilia would drop Angelina at school every Tuesday and Thursday. Same time, same route. Predictable. Easy to intercept. Of course, Angelina wouldn't actually be there. We'd use a decoy, a security team member's daughter, who looked similar from a distance. The real Angelina would be safe at home with armed guards. We waited. For 2 weeks, nothing happened. Then, on a Thursday morning, the security team reported movement. Victor's car following our route. He parked near the school. Waited. When Angelina got out of Cecilia's car, Victor approached. He didn't try to grab her. Smarter than that. He just talked to her. Asked if she remembered him. Said he was a friend of her dad's. Said he had a message to deliver. Could she get in his car for just a minute so they could talk privately? The decoy did exactly what she'd been trained to do. She said no. Said she wasn't allowed to talk to strangers. Started walking toward the school. Victor grabbed her arm. Not hard enough to hurt, but enough to stop her from leaving. That's when security moved in. Cameras rolling. Witnesses everywhere. Victor was caught red-handed attempting to lure a child. He was arrested immediately. This time there was no bail. Attempted kidnapping. Witness intimidation. Violating the terms of his original release. The judge threw the book at him. Victor's lawyers tried to argue it was a misunderstanding. That he just wanted to talk. But the cameras didn't lie. The witnesses didn't lie. Victor had crossed a line he couldn't uncross. The trial for the money laundering happened 3 months later. With the kidnapping attempt on his record, the jury didn't trust anything Victor said. They found him guilty on all counts. He was sentenced to 15 years in federal prison. Cecilia's company was safe. Our family was safe. Victor was finally gone. After sentencing Cecilia, and I went back to her office, the same office where she'd asked me that question months ago. The question that started everything. She looked at me and smiled, asked if I was still waiting. I smiled back, said no, I was done waiting. I'd found exactly what I was looking for. She asked what I was looking for. I said someone who saw me, really saw me, not the grief or the baggage or the complications. Just me, someone who fought beside me instead of for me, someone who loved my daughter like she was her own, someone with fire. She said that sounded like a very specific person. I said it was her. We got married 6 months later. Small ceremony, just close friends and family. Angelina was the flower girl. She'd asked if it was okay to love Cecilia, even though she still loved her mom. I told her love doesn't replace love. It adds to it. Her mom would be happy knowing Angelina had more people who cared about her. Angelina seemed satisfied with that answer. Monica sent a card. Didn't come to the wedding, but she sent her congratulations. Said she was doing well. Said she was happy for us. I believed her. Hoped she really had found peace. Found her own life instead of trying to live mine. We sold my old house. Too many memories. Cecilia and I bought a new place together. Big enough for all of us. Room for Angelina to grow. Room for the future we were building. We hung one photo from my old life in the new house. My wife and Angelina at the park. Smiling. Happy. Cecilia said it was important to remember where we came from. I agreed. Angelina asked me one night if I was happy. I told her yes. Happier than I'd been in years. She said good. Said she was happy too. Said she liked having Cecilia around. Liked not feeling sad all the time. Liked that our house felt like a home again instead of a museum. I hadn't realized she'd felt that way. Hadn't realized how much my grief had affected her. I apologized. She said it was okay. Said she understood. Said she was just glad it was over. Cecilia and I were sitting on our new couch one night after Angelina went to bed. She asked me if I ever regretted saying yes when she asked a question that day in her office. I said never. Best decision I ever made. She asked what made me say yes. What made me take the chance after years of shutting everyone out. I thought about it. Told her the truth. I said I was tired of waiting for permission to live. Waiting for my grief to end. Waiting for some sign that it was okay to move on. Her question made me realize nobody was going to give me that permission. I had to give it to myself. I had to choose to stop being married to a ghost. Choose to take a risk. Choose to believe I deserved a second chance. Cecilia said she was glad I chose her. I said I was glad she was brave enough to ask. We sat there in comfortable silence. The kind you only get with someone who really knows you. Someone who's seen you at your worst and stayed anyway. Someone who fought beside you when the world tried to tear you apart. This was my life now. Messy and complicated and beautiful. I'd lost someone I loved. Survived someone who loved me wrong. Found someone who loved me right. Angelina had a mother figure who would never replace her real mom, but would love her just as fiercely. Cecilia had the family she'd always wanted. And I finally understood what my wife meant in that letter. She wanted me to find someone with fire. Someone who wouldn't let me fade away. Someone who would pull me back to life. I'd found her, and I was never letting go. This story teaches us that healing doesn't mean forgetting, and moving forward doesn't mean betraying the past. Gerald spent 3 years waiting for permission that would never come. Permission from a ghost, from guilt, from fear of judgment. The truth is, nobody can give you permission to live your life except yourself. Grief is real and valid, but it becomes destructive when we use it as a prison instead of a process. The story also shows us the difference between healthy love and obsession. Real love, like Gerald's wife demonstrated in her letter, wants the other person to be happy even after you're gone, while obsession, like Monica's, tries to control and possess. Finally, we learn that asking for help and accepting support isn't weakness. It's wisdom. Gerald tried to handle everything alone and nearly lost everything. The moment he let Cecilia in, let her fight beside him, everything changed. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is stop waiting, stop hiding, and choose to live fully even when you're scared, even when you feel guilty, even when the world judges you for daring to be happy again. So here's the real question. Did you subscribe yet? Thousands of people will listen to this story and won't subscribe. Please don't be that person. If you're listening right now, help me prove something wrong. My dad said I wouldn't even reach 1,000 subscribers, but I believe stories like this deserve to be heard. Help me show him that these tales matter. Please subscribe to this channel, and let's keep breathing life into stories that were never meant to stay silent. And here's what I need to know. Do you want part 2?